Today, I'm gonna be installing a set of traction bars on a 20 plus L5P Duramax. Well, Adam's gonna do the install. So now that we got everything unboxed, we're gonna go through the tools needed for the job and the order of operations for the install.
All right, so these are the tools you're gonna need for the job. You're gonna need a 1/16" socket, an 11/16" socket, a 3/4 socket. You're gonna need the corresponding wrenches. So we have a 15/16 wrench, a 3/4 inch wrench, and then a little 5/16 inch wrench, a 1/2 inch impact, a drill, and a 1/2 inch drill bit. It's also helpful to have a pilot drill bit that's a little smaller than this. So you can drill a pilot hole through the frame so this big drill bit doesn't walk when you go to drill it.
These frames are boxed. So in order to secure these front brackets, we provide you with a fish wire, and you're gonna find a hole existing on the inside of the frame to fish the bolt through so you can mount up that front bracket. So now we got all of our parts laid out, we got our tools figured out. Let's get into this install. Adam, how much time do you think we're gonna have into this?
Typical install is probably gonna take around 4 to 6 hours, but it's always good to budget more time than you think because you never know if you're gonna get into those U-bolts and they're super crusty, you gotta swap out U-bolts, break a drill bit. So 4 to 6 hours is a pretty safe guess though.
Well, let's get after that install.
First, we're gonna be taking the bolts off the factory U-bolts. So we're gonna grab our 1/16 socket and then just pop these bolts off. Take the OEM bracket off, put the HSP bracket on, and then put those bolts back up. All right, so at this point, you're gonna check out your U-bolts, make sure they're not rusted, super crusty. I mean, a lot of times right along that leaf, they'll be rusted out. If you're in doubt at all, it's good to replace those, just best practice. All right, we're gonna assemble the HSP bracket to the U-bolts now. Line those guys up. Put it snug on the frame. All right, so this is probably the easiest part of the install. As long as your U-bolts are good, we're good to just take the stock bracket off, put this one on. I just like to start my nuts before I hit them with the impact so you don't cross thread them. And it's very important that you put the washer underneath as well, so keep those washers. All right, so we got all 4 of our bolts and washers on there. They're just hand tight. We're gonna work our way in an X pattern across this bracket. And we're not gonna go full torque right away. We're gonna slowly work our way up because we want even tension on all 4 legs of the U-bolts. So you're gonna wanna do this on the ground because if it's on a lift, you'll have the body lifted up and the frame lifted up. And when you pop those 4 bolts off, the axle's gonna wanna drop. Doing this on the ground, you have the full weight of the truck on the axle and it's not gonna go anywhere. So we're gonna tighten these bolts down. All right, so we got those 4 tightened down. And with everything on this install, it's good practice. After you take it for a drive, a couple 100 miles, you're gonna wanna go back, re-torque everything, make sure everything's tight because things do tend to rattle loose. So we'll go take this for a test drive later and then we'll recheck these 4 bolts. The HSP bracket's on. We're gonna go grab the bar and we're gonna assemble the bar to the rear bracket so that we can put our bar up to the frame and mark our holes later. So we grabbed our traction bar. The end with the bushing going through it is gonna go in the rear to our rear bracket that we just put on. We got the larger bolt, 2 washers, and our nut. We're gonna grab the side with the bushing here. You're just gonna wiggle that guy in. Little tip here, we're gonna grab a screwdriver and just pry up to get that bar in place. There we go. Perfect. So we're gonna put the bolt through the washer first. Then we're gonna put them through. Just to inch it in. And then once I got it in pretty far, we can just grab the impact and like drive it in. So we got our 15/16 socket. I'm just gonna drive this bolt to its home. Now that we got it poking through, we're gonna grab our washer, grab our wrench to stabilize the other side so we just don't spin, and then send her home. So we're gonna grab the shorter of the 2 bolts here. You can see this one's a little shorter. We're gonna grab 2 washers, our nylock, And then we're gonna grab our heim joint. This is a heim joint or a flex joint. This is gonna go on the front of the bar. We're gonna wanna spin this all the way in so we can get a good reference of where this goes so you have even length on both sides. So I'm just gonna bottom that. I'm gonna take this heim joint, thread it into our bar all the way, and then we're gonna back it out 7 turns. 2, 4, 7. Our grease fitting is pointing down, so you can go ahead and grease that later. Do these come pre-greased? And the answer is yes, they do. But it's always a good habit to just grease them after a while. Every oil change, you're gonna grease that fitting. So anytime you do your oil filter, fuel filters, whatever, just consider that another maintenance task you do. Point that guy down on your bar so you can grease it. Take our front bracket, the shorter of the 2 bolts here, slide it over our bar. The 15/16, and then the wrench to hold it. I like to leave this loose until the very end just so we have some flexibility there to wiggle it around. Okay, so next step is we're going to lift this up to our frame and then mark our holes. You either grab a friend or grab a jack stand to help jack this up and hold it up tight against the frame. Drill our pilot holes where we have the witness mark, and then ream those out back up to 1/2 inch with our larger drill bit. We'll have this assembled right here, and then we'll go through and do the same thing with the bottom 2 holes. There's 2 additional holes on the bottom that we're gonna go and also drill. A lot of times you'll drill all 4 holes and only 3 will line up. So we'll make sure we get 2 really good at first, assemble it, drill the other 2, and then put them all in at once. This would be the not easy part. So be really careful, take your time drilling these holes. These frames are super thick. Trucks just keep getting heavier and more powerful with a higher towing rating. It's gonna take a hot minute to drill through this frame. You're gonna wanna grab maybe some spare drill bits, step drills work, different pilot drills, just work your way up to that 1/2 inch because we're gonna be drilling 8 holes total. 2 up here on the top, 2 in the bottom on one side, and also mirrored on the other side. So we're gonna jack up this bracket up until it's tight to the frame. Make sure everything's nice and flush, readjust. It looks like we're nice and tight everywhere. We're gonna go ahead, grab our drill bit and mark our holes. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you're going in as straight as possible or have a really nice center drill so that you drill exactly where the hole needs to be. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is grab our black bolts from the kit and our fish wire. I've fished the big part of the wire through. We can see it popping through that big hole there. Try to angle it so I can grab it like so. Gonna thread that guy on enough so it doesn't come off in our frame. Gonna pull it through. Once you get that through, put a nut on for your own sake and sanity so you don't push this back through the frame so that we can't push it through. Now we'll do the second one. We have both of them fished through, so I'm just gonna take the bracket and get the one side, line up our bracket very carefully, pull those through, thread it back on so we don't push it through. We have 2 wrenches here. We have the small one that goes on the end here, and then the big one that goes on the nut. The small one is used to stabilize it while we turn the big one. So we'll make sure we're going the correct direction here. So we're gonna repeat the same process for the 2 bolts on the bottom. Drill our holes, fish them through, tighten them down. After that, you're gonna move on to the other side, which is the same exact process, just mirrored on the driver's side. Lastly, you're just gonna wanna go back, recheck the torque on all your bolts, tighten your jam nut on the traction bar, and then that completes the install.
Yo, what up, Adam? I got my ice cream. Let's get started, man.
Dude, what do you mean? We're already done.
Sick, we did it.